Thank you guys for clicking on the video. I am Sully, and today, fellas, we're going to be talking about breakthrough, and I wanted to make a commentary. It's going to be a little bit of a ramble, but I just want to share my thoughts on finally getting a job. I don't know if you guys have heard that I got a job in sports journalism, and I just wanted to share my thoughts along that process, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. So kick your feet up, kick your feet up, relax. I'll either be showing Last of Us multiplayer, Call of Duty World at War, or NHL, but either way, just the commentary is what y'all here for. So kick your feet up, grab a hot cocoa, grab some coffee if you're like me, and let's get into this commentary. So when I graduated college, I knew that I don't know, I originally wanted to do radio, and some of you have said my commentaries are the bee's knees. I don't know if that's true. There are really good commentators out there, but my radio experience definitely plays a part into my commentaries. And so I started searching the market for radio. I was like, I want to do sports radio, and holy jolly moly tamale foley, that market. Radio is extremely tough. It is hard. It is hard to get into, and trying to decipher what are entry-level jobs from not entry-level jobs is also pretty tough, because employers won't necessarily say that their job is entry-level, because of course you want like the highest qualified person, and if you say entry-level, that automatically cuts out. People aren't going to apply for that, at least in my opinion. So it was pretty tough, you know, trying to find a job after college, and I came back to be an attendant for my brother, which basically I'm his babysitter. I take care of my brother, and I don't like taking care of my brother because he's getting independent now, and receiving instructions from your brother, even though he's mentally handicapped, it's still frustrating for him, and I relate to it a lot. Like, if you guys have an older sibling, imagine your older sibling being your boss and telling you what to do. You probably wouldn't like it that much, so it was constantly bumping heads, and my brother wants his independence, which is fine, but so I took care of him. I went to an ice rink where they sell Capitals merchandise, where they work with the Capitals. I said, this is it. I want to work here, and I got the job, and I was a team store employee, and I liked it there. It's a fun job. You know, you saw Capitals players, and you saw Capital employees. It was a great job. I liked it, but I saw this writing on Twitter. I saw this blog post that they were looking for writers. I sent them my resume because I wrote for my school paper, and I was accepted. The only problem is, because the rink was affiliated with the Capitals, I couldn't work there at the rink, so I left my job to write, and I pursued writing and started out just writing blogs. And my first ever blog, even though it wasn't, I could probably go back and say it wasn't great. It was about Holtby and how the Capitals, you know, back then my opinion was Holtby has blown some game sevens, and I don't think he's a consistent goalie to rely on. My stance on that has since changed, but either way, that was my first blog. And eventually I continued to write, and I eventually grew to covering development camp. Some of you guys, that happened a couple weeks ago on Twitter, you guys saw that I was at development camp. And even before that, while the season was going on, I would cover practices at the Caps facility. But I grew my way to be a media member for my blog. And throughout that time, I wrote, and I would send out job applications to breakthrough in sports journalism, because the first time I covered a practice for the Capitals, that was it for me. I was like, I'm hooked. I can cover sports. I can cover a team, or I can do sports journalism the rest of my life. I want to be a writer. And this is probably a separate commentary, but I wanted to be a writer primarily because the written word is so powerful, and I want to do a separate commentary on that. But I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to take pride. I have an interest in writing, not just sports journalism. And so I was buying grammar books. I read a grammar book on my Kindle, and I have a sports journalism book. I have an AP style book that I read for fun. And so throughout that time, though, there was temptation to give up so many times, because I would send out job applications, and my college resume is pretty, I've been told by a few people that it's very strong. And actually, I have more of a background in hockey broadcasting than I do anything else, but I have a strong resume throughout college, or I built a strong resume through college, but I wasn't hearing anything. I finally got happy because out of over 10 resumes I sent out, I got 1 rejection letter back. 1 rejection letter. And when I finally had that rejection letter, I was so happy because finally someone told me that I wasn't qualified or that they didn't want me. It was great news to hear that I can cross off 1 paper that I didn't make it. But throughout that time though, Deke and AJ continually encouraged me, and there were so many other people, specifically my Bible study, that would pray for me, and it meant so much because so many people were rooting for me because I need to do something I'm passionate about, and watching my brother, even though I love my brother, I'm not passionate about watching my brother. And I continually pushed through, and there were a few things that I wanted to talk about. One is people. People play such a huge part in encouraging you, supporting you, being there sympathizing with you through your failures. And you need to have people that continually encourage you because you're only as strong as your friends are. If your friends are pretty weak and go with the wind, you're probably going to be pretty weak and just go with the wind. But if they're strong-headed, determined, and disciplined, that's going to translate to you. And if you're like that, that's going to translate to your friends. So having friends is huge. I think also understanding failure is a big part. I was so tempted to give up. And when I made that phone call, I was very down and out. I was just so tired of not hearing anything back. And I finally made a call. I said, why don't I call? Because I knew that just sending emails wasn't getting the job done. So I called and I finally broke through. But the rejection I want to go back to. When I got rejected for the job with the Caps, I made that my wallpaper. So every time I would clear an app or before I checked Twitter on YouTube, I saw that writing was my goal that I wanted to get paid for. YouTube really isn't that important. All right, YouTube getting up the first ratings really isn't important compared to a job in sports journalism for me. So I saw every time before or I cleared Twitter, there was that rejection email staring at me, and I would think, what can I do to be better? And I still left it there because you never reach a plateau in life, in your career. You can always get better. But again, translating your failures to motivators, that's probably what the most successful people do. Like Jordan. Jordan got cut from his junior varsity team, but he turned around and he worked hard in the summer. He came back and he made varsity, I think. So you can find stories like that. And just because you fail at something doesn't mean you're not meant to do it. That is my biggest lesson to you guys that I want to pass on, is that so many people like YouTube. I see so many comments where people are like, man, I tried YouTube and it didn't work out for me. Like, YouTube is already saturated enough. And even though the quote-unquote NHL community is small, the amount of commentators that have come on the scene and over the past year, for me, like me example, has blown up. I mean, type in NHL 15 ratings and just look in the last week and see how many commentators have uploaded videos just alone on the NHL 15 ratings. You gotta fight. You gotta push. And you can't sit back and wait for someone else to come along and shout you out on YouTube or do whatever. And so I think that translated over with me. Like, I can't rely on meeting some guy who's going to put me in connection with someone else. I got to get it on my own. And I'm thankful for that lesson. I'm thankful for working hard and the patience I learned. I wanted to do another commentary waiting on God because that was a huge thing. That was a real struggle. And I was praying a lot. But I think working hard, leaning on people, and praying definitely paid dividends. And if you don't believe in God, then you can choose to ignore that, but just take away work hard and lean on people to encourage you, and don't take failure as a sign that you guys shouldn't do it, because if that's the case, we probably wouldn't have great people. You will always meet someone at one point in life who faced rejection or failure. I don't think anyone has never faced rejection or failure. And how you choose to respond to failure and rejection is going to dictate the quality of life you have. If you meet one rejection, you give up, then you're donezo Alonzo. So, hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Let me know about your thoughts down below. Take care, Have a good day and peace in the Middle East.